There are only 16 students now. So this is an easy diagram which you can draw for the drilling machine. Hello, Sahil, I am audible, no? Hello.
Yes, sir.
This I explained also last time. So with the help of this clamp, you can move this table up and down, and of course this will be for the lighter workpiece. Since some more students are joining, we'll just quickly take a recap. This is upright drilling machine. Why it is called the upright drilling machine? Because it can, accommodate the heighted workpiece. That is workpiece which are more in height. Radial drilling. So whatever I am showing, these sketches are easy to draw. You have to practice this in the examination. You have to use these figures. More are joining. Hope nobody is waiting. Rutika has joined now. All right. This is a photograph. This is a ground column on which this slides up and down, and these are the guideways on which this head slides. Yeah. Now drill material can be HSS, that is high speed steel, or it can be carbide tip. Carbide tip means the cutting points are coated with carbide, and rest of the portion is HSS or MS. So this coating is done by PVD or by CVD. These are the methods to use the carbide coating. PVD stands for physical vapor deposition. CVD stands for chemical vapor deposition. Coating can be of carbide, titanium carbide, tungsten carbide, or coating can be of nitride also. So these coatings offers a very high wear resistance as well as higher cutting speeds and higher cutting feeds, so that production is more with the help of this coated or with the help of this carbide tip. When I say carbide tip, that means entire insert is made up of carbide. Inside tip is made up of carbide. And when I say coated, that means only the coating of 10 or 20 micron is given on the top, coating of carbide or coating of nitride. So that saves the cost. When it becomes blunt, then again you have to send it for the coating. You cannot do coating inside, because that is a special technology, carbide and nitride coating. So you have solid carbide drills. Solid carbide drill means the entire drill is, instead of HSS, you have made it out of carbide. This will be obviously expensive, and only advantage is that you don't have to send again and again for coating. The coaters generally, the coating plants are big plants and they employ special technology. The reputed brand is Balzara coaters. They're at Pune. So if you are using a solid carbide tool, then you don't have to send it for coating outside. You can also use TIN. TIN means titanium nitride coated. You can use carbide coated. Mm. And parabolic drills and split point drills are not in common use, so you don't think about that. This is how a drill will look like. It is called as a twist drill because of the flute's particular shape. This flute shape, it is twisted. That's why it is called as the twist drill. And it can be a straight flute drill also. So here the flutes are twisted, that is at an angle of 18 or 10 degree, and this particular angle is called as the helix angle. Whereas here there is no helix angle, it's straight. So helix angle in this case is 0. The purpose of twist drill, here the chip guidance is good and more. So the cutting efficiency is good. Here it is less. Only disadvantage is this of this twist drill is that cutting of the flute, that is manufacturing point of view, that is this cutting, this being at an angle, uh, manufacturing of twist drill is difficult. Whereas straight flute drill manufacturing is simple, easy. The So obviously straight through drill will be cheaper than twist drills. Step drill means you have two sizes which can be done. That is this as well as this as well as this. So two or more. So that is for the step drill. Alright. You can also do the flat. Generally you get a point. If it is a blind hole, blind means it is not through and through. If it is a blind hole, then you get a point inside the workpiece. So step drills or counterboard drills can make the surface flat so that your watcher can sit. Because if it is a point inside the workpiece, then your watcher will not sit. So step drill is used for having different sizes in the same holes. That is now this is suppose 10, this is 8, and this is 4. So you can get three different diameters. At the same time, you will also get the flat face because of this flatness. Spade drill is this. It is generally used for larger larger sizes. Gun drill is I have told that gun drilling is nothing but the deep hole drilling. So there the drills are longer. This is for the U drill, and this is how it will look like. So U drills can do direct drilling in the solid. Mean suppose if I don't have U drill, consider that you don't have U drill, and if I want to do a drilling of 40, then how do I do? First I do center drilling, then I go for 10 dia, then 20, then 30, and then 40 in a steps. I don't go directly. You cannot do. But if you have this U drill having indexable carbide insides, look at the design. These are the carbide insides. These are also called the tip. And these insert, it starts from the center. So there is no need to do center drilling or pilot hole drilling. Pilot hole drilling means diameter 10, diameter 20, diameter 30 is not required. Directly you can go for diameter 40 drilling with the help of the U drills. This you know, I told you that how to remove the drill. So you have a tang here, fixing of a drill here. So this taper is there on the drill. Then you have to insert a drift from outside into this gap, and you have to push or you have to hammer that drift little bit so that this drill falls down. Or if it falls down directly, either it will fall on your legs, that is operator's leg, or on the table or on the workpiece, and then drill will get damaged. So you have to see that you hold this drill, of course, with the gloves by hand, and then push the drift, or just push the drill little bit. That is, apply very light force so that the drill doesn't fall. Drill only gets loosened. Alright, it doesn't fall. And once if it loosens, then with both the hands you can pull the drill down. So this way you can remove the drill safely. Remember, if you are touching by hand, don't touch the drill by naked hands. Your hands will get cut because these are all cutting edges. They are very sharp. Always use gloves. Always use gloves. This is shank. This can be a parallel shank or it can be a taper shank. Generally up to 12 mm you get parallel shank. This portion is called as the margin. This is your body. You are aware of this, which is float. Then this portion, which is below the margin, that is for the web. This point is very important for drilling, and these are the cutting edges, two cutting edges at the front. If you look from here, that is side view, right hand view, will look like this. this circle, and you have this web. This is what is your cutting edges. These are for the lips. This is margin, and this is your body clearance. So this diagram is important from examination point of view. This is drawn from the side. Then how to hold? You know that drill can be held directly in the chuck or using socket directly in the socket, or you can use sleeve also, or directly in the spindle of the machine. If the drills are big, if the drills are big, that is generally above 35 mm or above 40 mm, then it can be directly hold inside the drilling machine spindle. So this is your drill chuck in which you can hold the drill. This is the sleeve. This sleeve goes inside this socket, and this socket goes inside the drilling machine spindle. And this is what I was telling you, that use of drift, drill drift. That is, you have to push this. This has a taper. This portion is straight. One side is straight, and other side has taper. So to push this inside, because of this taper, it will move this down. The drill it will move down. You have to just little bit only apply the pressure so that drill moves little down. It doesn't fall down. And then withdraw this drift and simply remove the drill by hand. Again, safety first. So you must use gloves. These are the different options, again important from examination point of view. So you can do drilling, reaming, boring, counter bonking, counter boring, counter sinking, tapping. This figure is important. So as far as possible, try to draw the stages. This is what is your drilling is, and this drilling is called as the blind drilling. Blind means it is not through and through, through and through. So you'll always get a point here. Always get a point. So if something is going to rest, then you need to make this flat. This is what I was telling when we saw that step drilling operation. Then tapping, drilling के बाद tapping. Tapping is nothing but internal threading. So either you can do hand tapping or you can do machine tapping. So machine tapping is generally preferred when the size is more than 10, M10 and above, because as the sizes becomes more and more, the force also increases. So you cannot manually it becomes difficult. So that's why we go for the machine tapping. Then this is your counter boring. As I told that this normal drill generates the point. So if you want to have a flat, then you have to go for counter boring. Why we want flat? So that you can keep a washer or a flat bearing inside this. Otherwise, it will not rest properly. Now, why the drills have points? Because here, this is the drilling operation. Remember. So if you have a flat, if you have a flat like this, if you are doing, whenever the flat surface directly comes in contact with this surface, it's going to be a surface contact. So the forces will be very high. Forces will be very high. So machine will be very huge. Machine motor HP will be very huge. So drilling may not be possible. That's why you have to go progressively, and that's why the point is. So when it is a pointed type construction, so first this will touch, then slowly, gradually, the area of contact will increase. So the load is not direct. The load is progressive, and the drilling can be done safely. And remember, in case of drilling, there is only one force, and that is your thrust. We call this axial thrust. That is in this direction. If we call this as Z direction, there are no other forces. It is only axial thrust. There is no radial force, There is no tangential force. The drilling machines are designed only for the thrust, and another is torque. Torque is very common, that is any rotary workpieces or any rotary pieces has to be designed for the torque. So whenever you are designing drilling machine, you have to design for torque and you have to design for the thrust. And thrust, it depends upon the maximum size of the hole that is to be drilled. Then another operation, that is boring. So boring operation is nothing but enlarging the existing hole. Like suppose if you have odd size, I have been telling you, like say 22.52 or say 25.9, 25.9. You don't have drill. You have drill 25. You have drill of 1 inch. 1 inch is nothing but 25.4. So how to get 25.9? For that you have to use boring tool. This is what is your boring tool. When you have reaming, reaming is nothing but finishing. Usually the drilled surfaces, drill holes are rough. You do not get exact size. Like suppose if you are using say 16 dia drill, you may get 15.9 or you may get 16.1 plus minus zero point 0.1 depending upon the grinding, how the drill is, whether it is new, old, how the drill is ground, depending upon this lip length. Sometimes the one lip is shorter, one lip is bigger, many factors. Also, reaming will always give you a good surface finish. And I also told the numericals on reaming. You have to consider twice the length. That is, it goes in feed, that is slowly, and it you cannot retract rapidly. जैसा drill हम लोग rapidly निकालते हैं, इसका reamer cannot be withdrawn rapidly. You have to withdraw or you have to retract the reamer in feed only in order to maintain the finish. If you are withdrawing it rapidly means fast, then the finish gets damaged. Then countersunking is nothing but the chamfering operation, providing the chamfering. Normally, this is the subsequent operation after the drilling. So usually, most of drilled holes are always followed by the countersunking. Countersunking. So then this countersunk or this chamfer provides the guideways for the subsequent operation. That is maybe for tapping or maybe for reaming. So you can mention this, 4 5 operations. 5 marks, 5 operations are sufficient. This is what center dealing, then reaming, then you have counter sunking, then you have counter boring, then you have step drilling, and so on. I so sometimes the drills are also designed in such a way that the coolant, there is a provision that there is a hole inside the drill. There is a hole inside the drill, so through which the coolant passes. So this is the kind of a gun drilling. That is what we have seen earlier. In gun drilling, it is possible. Rest of the normal drilling machines, we don't need such kind of passage inside the drills. Just internal coolant supply is sufficient. Normal drilling machine. Then reamer is not a single point tool. It comes under the category of multi-point tools because it has multi-tooth cutting tools. It looks like a milling. So you get an accuracy of plus minus 5 microns. But if not 5 microns, at least plus minus 10 microns or plus minus 20 microns is possible. And normally we require that much only, plus minus 20 microns or plus 20 microns. Plus minus 10 micron is the common accuracy we work upon in all kinds of fits, transition fits. Then boring tool is nothing but a single point cutting tool which is holding the boring bar. Again, you can get accuracy of plus minus 5 microns. See, 0.005. Instead of saying 0.005, I am saying 5 microns. 5 microns means it is 5 into 10 is to minus 6 meter or multiply by 10 to 3. So it will be 5 into 10 is to minus 3 millimeter. This can be written as 5 into 10 to minus 3 millimeter. It can be pronounced as 0.005 millimeter, or it can be pronounced as 5 microns. Microns means micrometer. Micrometer. Then you have countersink tools. You know the countersink operations, and that can be 60-degree, 82-degree, 90-degree. Standard countersunk cutters are available. Because why? Because if you have a countersunks, you can guide the subsequent tools like reamer or taps very easily. Not only this, there is another benefit that most of the times there are some countersunk screws. We'll see in CAMD countersunk type of screws available in the market. So the head of the screw is countersunk. It's a taper, conical shape. So for such kind of screws to be accommodated inside the hole, you need to have a countersunk on the head. Then counter boring is nothing but on the top portion we will enlarge the hole. That is what is called as the counter bore tool. This is countersink, and this is what is nothing but the counter bore. Counter bore. Spot facing means with the help of the counter boring tool, you are doing some kind of a facing operation here on the top. That is what is called as the spot facing. That is on some particular spot you are doing facing operation with the help of the counter bore. If it is a counter bore hole, then what we do? We do counter boring down, isn't it? We go down. But when it is spot facing, we just touch upon the face. We just clean up the face. Why? Because suppose if the bolt, hexagonal bolt is resting, that head of the hexagonal bolt is resting on this surface, and if this surface is rough, then that bolt will not sit properly. So for that you need to clean this surface little bit so that bolt head can sit properly and it can transmit the force, full force for which it is designed. If the surface is rough, then bolt will sit dead and the tightening will not be proper. You can have combined countersunks and center deal, that is doing center dealing as well as doing countersinking at a time. So this saves time and it gives an accuracy also. Only in this case the cutter design becomes little complex. Cutter should have center dealing features as well as it should have a feature of countersinking. Gun drill, you know by this time that it is used for longer holes, and don't worry because it is not there in the syllabus. Tapping, you must have done. If you are doing manual typing, then you have to use 3 tabs, and if you are doing machine type, then it's only done by 1 tab only. So it comes in a set of 3 tabs, manual tabs. Manual tab set comes in a set of 3 tabs: first tab, second tab, and third tab. How to identify these tabs? First tab will have a larger taper at the start, this taper, and second tab will have little taper, this, and then third tab will not have any taper. So the second tab is also called as the intermediate tab, and the third tab is called as the finishing tab. Finishing tab. The tab is held inside the device which is called as the tab range. It's kind of a handle in which one is fixed and another is movable. So this has a square at the top. The tab range will have a square hole inside it in which this tab goes, and then you have to tighten and moving handle. One handle is moving, which moves in and out. So with the help of this, you can tighten the tab. Work holding devices you are familiar, so we can go fast here. This is swell wise. This is standard machine table wise. You are also familiar with tape blocks, clamps, V blocks, angles, jigs, and T slot bolt. What I'm trying to tell here is the correct method of tightening and incorrect method of tightening. Look at this now. You can notice the difference. This and this should be at one line, exactly match. So that's why here there was a gap. So that in that gap we have put a small washer kind of thing so that it levels up and then tighten it. Otherwise, the clamping force will, suppose if this is not matched, then clamping force will not be transmitted. So your workpiece may not be clamped properly and it may fly off while drilling, may cause accident. So to ensure that this side and this side we are at the same plane. This you know now P is equal to pi dn upon 1000. So this is applicable for any rotating tool. P is equal to pi dn upon 1000. Pi divided by 1000 because P is in meter per minute and diameter is in millimeter generally. So left hand side is meter per minute, right hand side D is in millimeter, so that's why you have to divide by 1000. But the basic formula is V is equal to pi dn. How to find out the machine material removal rate in case of drilling, that is given by this. Material removal rate is equal to pi d square upon 4 into feed rate into n. So where D is in diameter, D is the diameter of the drill, F is feed rate which is given in millimeter per minute, N is nothing but the revolutions per minute. But normally we don't ask numerical on material removal rate, we only ask numerical on machining time because that is what is given in the syllabus. So how to find out the machining time? You know by this time that you must have a total length to be machined. Now to be machined means to be drilled, to be turned, or to be milled. So you should have that total length, and then total length is in millimeter. Then you divide by feed rate. So L divided by F. Now F is in millimeter per minute. So millimeter divided by millimeter per minute. So you will get minute. If now this formula L upon F into N, here F is in millimeter per revolution. Here F is in millimeter per revolution. So that's why we have to multiply by N. This is in the denominator, remember. So this is millimeter per revolution and this is revolution per minute. So revolutions cut and you will get millimeter per minute. So the time will be in minute. Lubrication is important everywhere. Machines, most of the problems or difficulties comes because of you know because the machines are not playing properly and machines are not being operated properly. We don't know the operations of the machines properly. Almost 95% of the maintenance arises because of this improper cleaning, no lubrications, no preventive maintenance done. You have to clean the machines after use. After use means at the end of the shift. Then lubrication is important. Then also greasing. Use brush. Don't remove the chips. Don't remove the chips by hand. And chips are hot and sharp. So that will cut your hand. Not only machines, but T-slot, grooves, spindles, sleeves, belts, pulleys should be cleaned. And once at the end of the shift, then you have to oil the important parts of the machine, like guideways, which are exposed to the atmosphere, and so that it doesn't get rusted. If the machine is not in operation for 2 days or 3 days or more than 2 3 days, then it's better that you apply a thin layer of grease. Otherwise, here the atmospheric oxygen will react with the surfaces, it will corrode the surfaces, and then your accuracy of the machine will get damaged, or accuracy of the machine will be reduced. So this is a kind of a preventive maintenance which is applicable not only for drilling machine but for other machines also. Safety precautions. If you ask questions, what are the safety precautions to be followed? Again and again, I am telling. Do not support the workpiece by hand or tool by hand. Right? There are many peoples they simply hold a workpiece by hand and do the drilling. Lazy, you know, to hold it in a vise. So even if it is small piece, I suggest you use vise or proper clamping device because accident happens once only. Then use brush to clean the chip. Don't clean the chip with the help of gloves also. Don't be overconfident. अरे gloves डाला है क्या होगा नहीं. Chips may cut the gloves also and it can damage your hand. The machine is working. Do not do any adjustment. Stop the machine and do the adjustment. That is belt adjustment, belt tension, belt shifting. See that your drill is rotating true, that is straight before starting the operation. Never place tools on the drilling table. Why? Because the tools can damage the table. Tools can fall down also. Avoid loose clothing and protect the eyes. Loose clothing because if the clothes are loose, shirts are loose, may get tangled inside the workpiece or rotating parts. Accidents has happened. Not only loose clothing but even loose hairs also. Long hairs. Especially girls should take care. So you have to tie your hairs also properly. This is actually major concern. There are many accidents because of the loose hairs or because of the long hairs. Protect the eyes. Why? Because the chips may be small and that cuts may fly off and damage your eyes. So in safety context, you need to use the goggle. Then if the drill breaks inside the workpiece, then don't panic. Remove it. Remove the workpiece. There are methods to remove the drills. If still you cannot remove the drill, then you can do a spark erosion operation to crush the drill. But don't panic. Don't worry. There are remedies for there are solutions for every problem. But this is what the beauty of doing manual operation. See, when you are doing manual operation, that is, if you are doing drilling manually or if you are doing tapping manually, then you understand the cutting process. Understand? No? You can feel the process. अरे drill नहीं घुस रहा है. That means what? Either the drill is blunt or the workpiece is hard. Understand? No? So that what you do, you remove the drill and you again do the grinding, or you go for some carbide drills or you go for diamond drills. But this will not happen in automatic drilling. In automatic drilling, there is no sensation. No? You don't get any sensation. जो फीड आपने लगाया वही फीड से drill will penetrate. So whichever is soft that will break. Understand? Of course, there are some devices or some features like adaptive control system where the machine can detect the forces and can stop the machines. This is what is called the adaptive control system, where if the metal is hard or if the cutting tool is blunt, then immediately force will increase. That force will be measured with the help of the transducer, and then it will be indicated on the panel. There is a needle kind of thing. It has two parts. One is green, another is red. So as long as your needle is in green part, that means the cutting action is good. Moment it grows to the red zone, that means something is wrong. So either you have to stop the machine manually, or there is a provision that machine will stop automatically moment the forces increases. So these precautions you have to take. These are the safety precautions. If you have any doubt, you can stop me and ask. Now we'll go for operations, milling operations. We have completed introduction to the manufacturing process. Then some introduction to generating and forming processes. That is module one. Then we have completed the lathe. We completed drilling. Now we'll go for milling, which is again an important operation. Since this being very important operations, I am giving some more time. I am more shooting the number of hours. Not going exactly as per the hours, but I am going as per the you know the uh, depth of the topic. You can say length being important, filling also being important. I am giving more time because these are the machine tools that will always come across when you go to the industry. I'll show you some operations here. What operations can be done on the milling, or want to see no CNC. I will not show you now. I'll show you Enco milling machine. This is the DRO. The DRO. This is vertical milling machine. Vertical milling machine. This is for the table movement. This handle. This he has engaged automatic feed. This is for the rapid feed. That is, the feed is fast. Generally, we call this as the x-axis. This is auto feed. This is your y-axis, and vertical is your z-axis. This is x-axis. This is y-axis, and this is vertical is z-axis. So all the three axes can be moved in auto. These are the guideways. These are the guideways on which it slides. This is the dial. This is a dial which gives a reading, and this is a DRO, that is digital readout. This is how the machine will look like. This is up and down vertical milling. This is X, and this is Y. This is a motor for changing the speeds as well as for changing the feeds. This is the column on which these tables are mounted. There is a provision that this entire knee, this is called the knee, which can move up and down on this slide. This slide, and there is a screw here. This is the screw on which this knee is mounted, and knee can be moved up and down. This becomes the Z axis here, and this is for the tool movement. This spindle. So this is also a Z axis. But whichever is longer, we will take that. Now, since here the workpiece is moving like this, and like this, Let's say a workpiece cannot be heavy. You cannot mount heavy workpieces. If the workpieces are heavy, then it has to be a fixed bed type. Means workpiece should not move. So generally, these kind of machines are designed up to 200 kg of workpiece, not more than 200 kg. What are the different operations that can be carried? This CNC, I have some good videos that I'll show later. So what are the different operations which can be done on milling? These are all different operations. You can do V milling, V slot milling, slitting, but slitting on vertical milling, radius milling, and so on. Alright, let us see one by one. This is chamfer milling. This is a vise in which the workpiece is held. This what I'm showing that is on vertical milling operations. This particular operation is chamfer milling, that is milling of the chamfer. Look at the inserts which are at 45 degree. This is a typical cutter will look like. These are what your inserts are, and this is a screw which is used for clamping the insert. And this cutter is holding the spindle. Now this insert has 4 cutting edges, one, two, three, four. So if this gets blunt, then you have to index. And if all the 4 cutting edges get blunt, then you have to turn it upside down. So that means one particular this square insert can be used almost 8 times. So this is called the face milling and shoulder milling. The meaning of shoulder is this. This portion is called the shoulder. This is what is your shoulder, and this is called the face. So face and shoulder milling. So with the help of this cutter, you can get 90-degree exact. Look at this cutting edge. See, this is exactly at 90 degree to the horizontal plane. So you get a pakka 90-degree face or a shoulder here. We call this as a face and shoulder milling, and there are 4 inserts. So in case of milling, in one of the numerical I told you, the feed rate is given as millimeter per tooth and per revolution. So if millimeter, if the feed is 0.1 millimeter per tooth per revolution, and if there are 4 tooths, then total feed rate will be 0.1 into 4, so that will be 0.4 millimeter per revolution. Again, this is also face and shoulder milling. This has a longer height, so the shoulder heights can be more. Shoulder heights can be more. But generally, we don't use for shoulder, we use it for the face. This also is considered as a face, and this also is considered as a face. Alright. So both the faces are milled here at 90 degrees. This cannot be called as a shoulder. Shoulder means it's a kind of a step. It's a kind of a step. So this we call only as a face only. Two faces are milled at 90 degree to each other. This is a forming operation on milling, vertical milling. This is a forming radius cutter. So this is the radius milling. This is for the shell end mill. This gives you accurate shoulders. Accuracy. This is slightly rough, so that roughness can be removed. So this is your shell end mill, and this has so many cutting edges. How many cutting edges? One, two, three, four, five, and six. There's the six cutting edges. So that's why milling cutters are always called as multi-tooth or multiple point cutting tool, because there are more than one. And this particular cutter is called as the shell end mill. Shell, SHELL, shell end mill. So that was the finishing operation. You have shoulder milling, rough operation. So this is for the staggered type end mill cutter. This is used for rough milling. Again, multiple point cutting tool used for rough milling. There's higher material removal rates and will always give a rough surface. Will always give a rough surface, and in which we just now see how to finish it with the help of the shell end mill. So this will be always followed by a finishing operation. Then you have another operation, that is slitting. Now where is the spindle here? This is for the slitting cutter, and this cutter is mounted on this spindle. So obviously this spindle is vertical. So this is mounted on vertical spindle. Mounted. You have to see here that this cutter doesn't bang on this vise. This cutter doesn't hit the vise. That is what you have to see. Take care means you have to see means you have to take care that it doesn't hit the vise. Otherwise, either of these, whichever is bigger portion, will get damaged, either cutter or the vise, the workpiece. And this is the bore. It is mounted on the spindle. So obviously this spindle will be vertical spindle. So this is the vertical milling operation, slitting operation, vertical milling. So you see that cutter doesn't clashes. One more slitting, that is on the horizontal. Now see, here this is the bore. So obviously this cutter is mounted on a spindle which is going like this, and definitely this spindle will be horizontal. And this is what the key is, key way. This is what the key way. So you have a slot on the spindle or on the shaft. The purpose of the key is this will rotate, this cutter will rotate with the spindle. If there is no keyway, then there are chances that this cutter will rotate freely on the spindle. Means if the spindle is rotating at 1000 rpm, since this is free, there is no key, it may not rotate or it may rotate. I say. So that's why we have to fit a key. And you cannot fit this cutter very tightly on the spindle. Why? Because every now you have to change the cutter, isn't it? You cannot have only one cutter on that machine lifelong. Every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, you are going on changing the cutter. So you have to have a key, and this bore should go freely on the shaft. Yes, if you are fitting it very tightly, then it will not rotate. Then it will rotate along with the shaft. But that is not possible. This has to be little loose. So that's why you have to use the key. In Camry, we will see use of keyways and key. So this was the slating on horizontal machine. Yellow color, that is the inserts. We call the golden coated in the layman's language. Then you have slot milling operation. See, this is now coated. This is a coated cutter. This is the slotted. This is cutting of the slot. You can go only till here. You can see these flutes. It looks like a drill, but it is not a drill. This is called the slot cutter, or we call the slot end mill. Slot cutter or slot end mills. I'll show this again. This is important. This can be asked for the numerical. That is, if the slot length is this much, and if this is for the number of pass. You know, one pass. This is the second pass, or depth of cut, and this is the third pass. So in three passes, it is finished. This has a two cutting edges. This right, see, two cutting edges, one and another. These are flutes, but this is not a drill. This is end mill. End milling is a regular operation, you know, on vertical milling machine. So the purpose of the coating is this is coated. The purpose of the coating is you can use low cost material as a shank, and then you go for a coating which is expensive. So you don't have to go for solid carbide tool. No need for going for solid carbide tool. You can go only for HSS or still paper material, and then just do the coating. So that comes as a economical option, and you also get a good material removal rate also. Again, this is the slot cutting. This is what is your slot is. So we call this operation as a face as well as shoulder milling. Then you have T slot milling. T slot. Again, you have to see that a cutter clears off the vise. See now it has cut. This is a T. Initially you have a slot. Now this is a T slot milling cutter. This is a spindle, and obviously this is your horizontal milling machine. Horizontal milling machine. So why the T slot milling machine? Again, I will show this. This is a horizontal spindle milling machine. The operation being carried out is T slot milling. You have one more operation, that is V type milling. So you can have 90-degree, you can have 120-degree V. This is also called as the form milling operation. Form milling. So cutter is formed as per this degree. So that's why it is called as the form milling operation. Show it again. Again, this is hold on a horizontal milling machine with the help of the key. So these are the different milling operations. Then there are some videos. There's a lot to show, but the problem is duration, the timing. Time is very less. GMT is famous for your milling machines. This is a typical milling machine will look like. These are the number of workpieces which are mounted. Is X, Y, and Z. So these are the bellows. These bellows protects the machine. The chips doesn't go inside. There are rubber bellows, so it can be compressed easily. This is now y-axis, which is moving manually. This is the z-axis. This is what your spindle is. This is spindle or quill. Spindle or quill. Not to be confused with the z-axis. This is a CNC. This is what is your tool changer. Just now what you saw. That was a tool changer. These are the telescopic covers. Sheet metal telescopic covers. The chips will not go inside. These are the guideways. And this is what is your ball screw is. These are the motors, servo motors, which are used for driving. This is a screw which is used for the linear motions. On the CNC we use ball screws. Okay, this will learn when you are running CNC. This is face milling. Okay, we'll call it a day. If you have any doubt, please ask. Otherwise, we may leave. Yeah, Rutika, any doubt? Yes, Sahil. Hello. Yes, Adnan. Any doubts? Drilling machine and milling machine, whatever we learn.
No,
Hello. You said anything, Adnan? No, you said, is it? Then we'll stop here.